Yesterday, we got our first look at Attack on Titan characters and an all-new card type, Backup. Let's start off with the characters and see what we learned. We have Big Mouth Titan and Hans. The first thing that jumps out to me is that both of these characters only have 2 symbols. Now, this makes a lot of sense with the article they put out last week where they mentioned that Attack on Titan might not have all 12 symbols. In fact, it might only have 6. And so if there's only 6 symbols in Attack on Titan, then each character having 2 would give them access to 1/3 of the set, assuming that all cards in Attack on Titan are attuned, which we don't know yet. I'm just making that assumption. But if all cards are attuned, then each character would have access to 1/3 of the set. That makes a lot of sense, and it's very easy for a new player to pick up Big Mouth Titan, see it has Chaos and Fire, and then just be able to play all the Chaos and Fire cards. The next thing that I want to point out is that they seem to be mono color scheme artistic-wise. I'm not a huge fan of only having one color, but they both seem to be coming from this primary symbol here. This is the Chaos symbol, and so Big Mouth Titan is pink. This is the Fire symbol, and so Hans has this like orangish color to him. I'm not sure if this is something that's going to continue, but now that we've seen 2 characters, it's something to keep in mind. Also, we've got their names written behind here in kanji. I really like this artistic decision. It really helps bring the manga to life. So we have Hans and katakana here. And then for Big Mouth Titan, we have the kanji for big, mouth, possessive particle, and then Titan. I really, really like how Universes does this on their My Hero Academia secret rares. And bringing this to this characters is a very, very good decision. One thing that I forgot to mention on the 2 symbols here is I do kind of worry that in Standard, that Attack on Titan characters might fall behind others, since they only have access to 2 symbols worth of attuned cards, and Standard characters will have access to 3 symbols worth of attuned cards. Now, if Attack on Titan set 1 and set 2 only have 6 symbols, maybe this is a problem that doesn't really come to fruition for about a year out when other worlds start coming to Universes and bringing in different attuned cards. How far will attuned symbols really go? How far will they be pushed? Is it just going to be an Attack on Titan thing and then dropped? We really don't know the answers to any of these questions. It's just something to keep in mind for now. But we now know that these are 2 symbol characters. Will all characters in Attack on Titan be like this? We're not for sure. I think we can, in general, say yes, though. The other thing to notice is that both of these characters are 6 hand size, and they have more than 30 health. This is a trend that we've been seeing a lot recently. Younger Toguro, 32 health. Godzilla, 34 health. Endeavor 3, 30 health. It used to be in the early days of My Hero Academia that 6-handers were 27 to 28 health, and 30 plus was only reserved for 5-handers. That seems to be changing here. Again, in Attack on Titan, everything is bigger. Checks for attacks are bigger. Difficulties are bigger. The set size itself is bigger. Ruin is blowing up stages. It's kind of bringing this Attack on Titan feel to the characters. But something to keep in mind, will 5-handers also have a higher health? Will 7-handers also have higher health? And now let's jump into the specifics. We got Big Mouth Titan. Oh, both of these are also common characters. Remember, they showed off character rarities a couple weeks ago. So the common characters are going to be more meant for limited play, and then the ultra rare and secret rare characters are going to be more meant for standard play. Let's see if these characters live up to that ideal. Big Mouth Titan, Enhance. Your attack gets +2 damage. If you've not added any cards to your momentum this turn, add the top card of your deck to your momentum. That's very, very powerful. All of your attacks in this character get 2 damage, and you get a free momentum every turn you throw out an attack. And then form once per turn, discard a card, add 1 card from your momentum to your hand. You don't have to use that form, but if you have a very good attack in your momentum, you can just take it into your hand and get to play it. This is very, very powerful. Yeah, and he's not keyword locked into anything. He's not locked into any like zones. He's very, very wide open in terms of how you're going to build him. That makes a lot of sense for a common character meant for limited, but he's also going to be really strong in standard. A 6-hander that gives 2 damage to everything and gets a free momentum. Or he can take a momentum to his hand and now he's getting to see that extra attack. That's really, really solid. Hans, after a block is played, add 1 wall counter to this character. Your attack gets +1 damage for every 2 wall counters on this character, maximum 7. Enhance, commit, return this attack to its printed speed. I'm actually not sure that Hans needed a maximum here. You know, we didn't put a maximum on a character like younger Toguro, and I think it's okay. Like if Hans is just getting, we didn't put a maximum on like Kinoko Komori, Shrooms Girl from Girl Power. I'm not a big fan of adding the max 7 because what's really the difference between 7 and 10? By the time you're getting to 7 damage on everything, it's probably the late game and the game needs to end at some point. So I would be okay if they nixed the maximum. But I like that he's getting bigger offense based on playing solid defense. And that enhance can be used on his turn or on his opponent's turn. Almost all the time it'll be used on his opponent's turn. That way you can get that block off to add a wall counter. But it could come in big handy on your turn if you're facing something like barrier shield and you're on a lethal attack turn and you need to push an attack through. So I like the versatility there and not just gating it to your rival's turn. But the defense turns into offense pretty soon. Everything is huge. You also just have 32 health. So you are trying to block everything, but you can face tank some things too. And it doesn't say that it has to be completely blocked. It can just be a half blocked. Also, just like Big Mouth Titan, he is not keyword locked. He is not zone locked. He's not prohibited from playing any of the attacks that he gets. So from a design standpoint, I think these characters deserve a standing ovation for what they're going to do in limited, sealed, and draft play. You're going to open one of these common characters and you could very, very easily build a deck around them. And they're very, very strong. They're not, it's not like these common characters stink and then the ultra rares and SRs are just going to be running laps around them in terms of strength. It's more going to be that the ultra rares and SR characters are probably designed around standard, designed to be a little more complex, whereas both of these characters are pretty easy. We have some statics here, and then a form ability on Big Mouth Titan and an enhance. Both of those on your turn only, so you can turn your brain off on your rival's turn. On Hans, you're only using one enhance, and so even though it's usable on your rival's turn and on your turn, you only get to use it once per turn cycle. These aren't really taking up a lot of mental space. They're very, very simple to understand and very strong and very open. I think they knocked these characters out of the park. Absolutely perfect. Next up, we got Backup, this all new card type. Basically, a Backup is a card that you build into your stage and you can't use it to pass checks. So it's like an asset in that sense, but your rival can attack it. And then if your rival deals the number of damage equal to the stamina of the Backup, then it gets destroyed. And every time your rival plays an attack, they need to declare at the time that they play it if they're attacking your Backup or if they're attacking you. If they attack your Backup, you are not allowed to block. We still have a lot of questions to be answered here from a rules perspective. The article was pretty short and didn't come with a long fact to it. And so lots of questions to be answered. Does an attack that deals damage to a Backup go to momentum? If so, that doesn't seem super fair that the rival didn't get the chance to stop them from getting momentum and ramping a resource. Could make poke turns in the late game a lot better, where normally a poke would be completely wasted because your rival has the resources to block it. And so you're just playing it to play something and say pass. But now if you poke, you get to ramp a momentum. We're not for sure if attacks that deal damage to Backups get momentum or not, something that we're going to have to find out. What happens if a Backup somehow gets destroyed mid-attack? Is that attack aborted? Just a lot of questions here left to be answered as to how exactly they work. But basically, it seems to me that they're a little worse assets. You can't use them to pass checks, but your rival can attack them. So that makes them a little worse. So I think that the effects need to be a little better than assets. So assets need to have effects that are better than foundations. And theoretically, at least in my mind, I would think Backups need an effect that's a little better than an asset. So here we have two commons. Once again, we're only seeing commons. A Titan, let's start with the Titan Small. A Titan Small, 4 difficulty, 4 stamina. After you block with this card, build it at the end of the combat phase. So you could just build it with the 4 diff, or you could block with it. Now it is a 3 mid block, so that's going to be, you're going to have to work. You're going to have to work for that. Enhance, commit, lose 1 stamina. This attack is +1 or -1 speed. No, that is not worth it. We have 1 difficulty assets like Knott's Flask giving you +3 damage or -3 damage basically for free. And that's on a 1 diff. And this, you're having to commit and lose a stamina. Let's jump into a Titan medium. A Titan medium, 4 diff, 1 high block. Both of these check 6s, by the way, so that's not nothing. Enhance, commit, lose 1 stamina. This attack gets +2 damage. If your rival has 10 or more foundations, this attack gets +2 speed. Committing for 2 damage, and then if your rival's basically in deadlock, 4 damage, that's something that I would only play on like a 1 difficulty foundation. So I'm a little confused by this being 4 difficulty. One thing we can note from each of these is that the abilities on the backups do seem to cost stamina. So you're having to hurt your backup a little bit to use the enhance. But I guess the intrinsic value of the backup is that your rival might attack the backup instead of you, which should like help you in some way. But that all depends again if that attack is going to go to momentum and we're not allowed to block. I'm assuming we can use deflect on backups. We just don't know yet, but I'm assuming that we can. Maybe damage reduction with a backup character is better value. But overall, I feel like we're missing something here with these 2 backups because I really, really like the concept of backups. I love the idea of an asset that you can attack and destroy, because the whole problem with assets right now is they're pretty difficult to interact with. And then sometimes they're just way overpowered, or they're just not powered up enough to where they ever get played over foundations, because assets are very, very real deck building costs. You know, you want your foundations to be about 60% of your deck. You want your attacks to be about 30%. Now you only have about 10% on average for assets and actions. So there's a huge deck building cost to including assets. So they don't see a lot of play unless they're super overpowered, and then there's not a lot of interaction with them. And I think that backups kind of solve the problem of assets in that sense, because you can make them really powerful. Your rival can attack into them. It kind of takes away, I know, it increases the interaction of the game, and I'm all for more interaction. So I really, really like the idea of backups, which I want to get that out of the way before I then eviscerate these 2 backups, because I don't know what's going on here. In my mind, they should have better abilities than assets. And these are 4 difficulty moves. And I feel like that the enhances on these are what I would expect from a 1 difficulty foundation. Like commit for +2 damage, sometimes +4, +1 or -1 speed, and you have to commit it. To me, these effects scream 1 difficulty foundation to me. You know, we hardly see the asset Takoyaki get played. It's a 1 difficulty 6 check, +2 or -2 damage plus draw a card. That's so much better than these. These are 4 difficulty. These are really hard to build. Really, really hard to build. You know, you're not allowed to build them turn 1 going first. So they hurt you from that sense. I mean, think of Ultra Regeneration, right? Ultra Regeneration sees a lot of play because of Titan Cliff. But other than that, it's a huge deck building cost. Because if you attack twice, it's really hard to build something on a 6. If you check a 3 on that, you could just be dead. So I'm thinking we must be missing something here because we're only seeing 2. And so I'm hesitant to judge these too harshly. Maybe there's going to be a character that loves backups, you know, the Attack Titan, Hanj, Beast Titan. Maybe there's going to be some character that loves backups, and so there's more intrinsic value than meets the eye. Because as it stands right now, I'm just thinking assets that can be attacked. And maybe I'm thinking about it wrong. We really just don't know at the moment. Maybe there's something to where if you get a Titan small, a Titan medium, and a Titan large in your stage, both of these have the infinity symbol, by the way. Maybe if you assemble like the small, medium, and large Titan, there's another card that has like first form, you start the rumbling. I'm trying to think of what the rumbling would be. Destroy your rival's stage, or destroy 5 foundations in your rival's stage. Your combat phase ends. Your rival gets 1 turn to kill you. If they don't, you win the game. You know, that would be kind of thematic. Like once the rumbling starts, humanity has a very, very low chance of survival and a very limited time frame to win the game. Or there's just a character that loves backups and that ramps up like crazy with backups. Maybe there's multiple characters that love backups or multiple attacks. There could be a ton of synergies throughout the Attack on Titan set. So I feel like it's really hard to judge backups off of these two. Right now, I can say with 80% confidence that these two backups probably stink, but I really like the idea of backups as a whole. I know that's kind of weird. We're just going to have to see in reveals going forward where these go. But I would love to know your thoughts on backups. What are some cool ways in which these two backups in particular could actually be really good? Synergies with Attack on Titan. One thing I wanted to point out too is that Bill Stark noted in his Designing Universes articles that there's evergreen mechanics and deciduous mechanics. Evergreen mechanics are mechanics like stun, powerful, EX. They're going to be in every single set, or like, you know, keywords like ranged or throw. Like these are just going to be everywhere. And then there's deciduous abilities that might be world specific. So maybe backups is just for Titans and just for the Attack on Titan world. And it's actually not this new card type that's going to be with us forever. You know, maybe Ruin is a mechanic that's Attack on Titan specific. This, you know, destroying each other's stages, similar to Titans stepping on buildings and trampling over walls. We really just don't know yet. So some questions answered today with this look at characters and backups, but a lot of questions left to be answered. Personally, I'm very, very happy with the design of these characters. I think they're perfect common characters. I immediately want to play with them. I want to start building decks. They seem powerful for standard, but they seem really fun in a limited format. And then these backups, I love the idea of backups. I'm all here for it. I like the pink color of the card types. I can definitely, we're getting a lot of pink in Attack on Titan with backups and also with blitz abilities now. So someone on the art team loves the color pink, and I don't mind that. So I like the idea of backups. I just think that the two that they've shown is kind of odd, because I think that these are probably very bad, barring some crazy synergy within the set. They're probably terrible. I did see some backups at the Influencer Summit that were kind of crazy. So I'm curious why they showed these two off and not the crazy ones off. Because there's better ones to come that kind of fit more with my original idea, where a backup's ability should be better than an asset's ability, should be better than a foundation's ability. But again, I could be way off here. I haven't seen close to the majority of the set, and so there's a lot of questions left to be answered. I think I'm kind of rambling here, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Tell me what you think in the comments below. And what are we going to see for the future of backups?